long to connect. Serena spam. Welcome to the stream, the Dreams Project, BBs. Happy Tuesday. Hope the day has been kind to everyone. We are connected. We pull us out of purgatory. Beautiful. I was afraid that was gonna be way hotter. It's actually connecting. This is such an interesting experience to be connected in 2 different places at one time. Oh my goodness. It's an experience. Everything is where I want it. We're gonna bop in with Avoid for a few and Love on Her. She would not get off of my lap earlier. She's being a lover girl today. And then we'll bop in with Little PB. She got her shots today. Her first round of kitten shots. She's feeling kind of yucky, which is pretty normal. I think most of us, when we get a vaccine, you kind of feel like you have the flu for a day or two, just like out of it. She's been an eepy girl all afternoon. She's been an eepy little lady. She was being so cute and silly last night. Let me flip us around here. We're gonna lose. Let me connect this first. And then I'll flip us. Goodbye, cord. There we go. I'm in front of my screen. I can't see. I'm blinded. Blinded by the cameras. Tank test. And tank test. Golden. We are good to go. Now I'm gonna flip this around. There we go. Perfect. Perfect. Keep going in between cold and warm tonight. It's an interesting feeling. See how it goes, bobbing over to Peebs and Mama. A couple more sips of coffee is need. And pause this because maybe it perturbs Voya. I don't know. Who's he the mama bear? Voya, are you the guardian of the books? With your backup Gunther, the guardian of the shirts. You are so cute and silly. I love you. You're a very good boy. Yes, you are. A very good boy. I think I've put every piece of jewelry pre-surgery except for my necklace. Got my belly button back in. Keep hurting my necklace though. They gave me a cup, like the cup that you pee in, but like not a peed in cup. To bring my jewelry home in or just store it. It's an experience. Like, it works. I'm not knocking it, but it's a little funny. So now I guess whenever I travel again, I have my own little jewelry cup. I kind of miss having nails done, but I don't miss this being immensely difficult with nails done. Or like putting an earring back in. Oh my goodness. It was like nigh impossible. Now we're almost back to fully formed human. Chauncey likes his parka and he's keeping his parka and he doesn't want to put on his robe tonight. He's really loving his parka. He says, Mom, the robe is too girly. Kind of, maybe. Hello, Miss Lady Man. Floyd, what are you doing? Little escape artist, come here. I told you tomorrow we would be getting ready for that. Hi. I told you tomorrow. I told you tomorrow. It's still, you're not even prematurely on time, Void. It's 10:43 p.m. It's 2 hours away from tomorrow still. You know, if it was like 12:03, 12:43, I could justify it. I could understand it. You know, you listen to my words, but it's not tomorrow. Just like, yes, it is tomorrow. Voids. Welcome, Cytogenics. Real men aren't afraid to wear pink robes. I mean, I don't think he's afraid to wear it, but I think he's enjoying the manliness of the blue one. I don't know. He just didn't want to take it off today. Usually, like, I call him over for hugs after we go in and out, and then I swap his sweaters. That's what I've been doing, and he didn't want to get up this time. He's just like, Mom, I really like this. Like, he wasn't being, like, sickly sad. He's just like, I'm not getting up. You're not changing my jacket. That's the Chauncey voice. Not changing my jacket. You're not changing my jacket. Void! You did so much lap time earlier. You want to try that again? You want to try that again? That would be nice. You'll blend in. We won't see you. Shh, it'll be our little secret. She'll choose laps sometimes, but otherwise you just gotta plop her in, and then she's like, oh, this is good. This is real good. He was making biscuits on my arm earlier. You're so happy, girl, today. Void is like, I am confident, I am large and in charge. Let me out to the zoo, Mamu. We're getting there. We're gonna try it tomorrow for a little bit. I think tomorrow I'll close the basement door for a little bit and have a Slavka and Charlie down there because they're a little wily, and Munster too because Munster can be a little wily. And maybe Marbles because she can be a hissy pants. But we'll have Chong and Kid upstairs and Ringo and Diesel in their crates, but Pippi and Chauncey out and see how they do just touching noses like next to the gate, not even in person. And then slow steps from there. Slow steps from there. She's funny though. She got out the door and she only walked like halfway through the doorway and was like, do I go further? Oh my goodness. It'd be interesting to see who she becomes friends with. I kind of want her and Charlie to be friends. It will be interesting to see. But they're, you know, the two mamas that overnurse their children. They can commiserate on the correlated cat timing of, you know, nursing their kids till they're like 3 years old. Because Charlie's girls were about 6 months, I think, 5 or 6 months when Charlie came here and I swooped her up because I didn't know she had babies. And they were still nursing because I thought Charlie was preggo. She was a milky lady. Oh, the baby. She's so cozy. I'm so proud of her. You know, just like Tank, I never thought you would be this loving. I knew that you liked me, but like I didn't think you would ever love me. And that's really cool. Little slug gonna be having too many girlfriends. He should have gotten the Hugh Hefner robe. He really does have so many girlfriends. He's just a sweet man. You know, they say nice guys finish last, but he's the nicest guy I've ever met. And he gets all the bitches. Or rather, all the pussy. I mean, he even gets bitches too. He gets Pippi, but... I recently learned that a female cat, unspayed, is called a queen, so that we knew. But once they get spayed, they're called a molly. So you're not a queen anymore. You're a molly now. Molly, Molly, Molly. Hello. 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 You're a Miss Molly. Say, but my name is Void. She doesn't respond to Void as she does, like, to Mommy, though. She responds to Mom well. Void. Mom. See? So now I have a cat named Mom, apparently. Maybe that means Tank was someone's pet all those many years ago. I have a sneaking suspicion that probably Voya, Tank, and Void as well were probably probably indoor cats at some point, or at least owned by someone in their youth. But kittens go through these crazy phases where all they do is jump on you and attack you and want to do all the things and shred things up. And unfortunately, so many people think like, oh, that just means my cat wants to go outside, fulfill their wild instincts, blah, blah, blah. And it's just stinky. But I think we had the benefit of, with Voya and Void, that's so, I'm confusing my vet's office now with that. Voya and Void. They're so young, like Voya was probably about 2 when he came inside, and Void is somewhere between like 2 and 3. She's having a time of it with my pants right now, I don't really understand. So they're young enough to be able to like acclimate much more quickly, even with Void being a girl. That's my socks, Mama. Why is there a dot of water on the floor? Were you drooling? Ceiling isn't leaking, is it? No? There's just a wet spot on the floor. I don't know what that's from. Doesn't smell like something nefarious. That was a brave sniff. But Tank being older, and especially male, and not neutered and out for so long, I think he had time to revert to feral instincts without actually being a feral cat. Tank was somewhere between an unsocialized outdoor cat and a feeder-friendly feral. Hi, buddy. Because thinking back, he wouldn't have put in the effort to ask for help if he was 100% feral. He wouldn't think of humans as anything other than a nuisance, like humans often think of feral cats as. But Tank got really lucky by coming in when he did. You're being so silly. Are you being playful? She's kind of understanding toys. Like, she's not as much of an idiot as she was when the babies were small. But hands-on play, she's very interesting with. But I do have a sneaking suspicion that they were either born to outdoor cats that people owned, or they were owned at some point in their youth. And that's how they know deep down people is okay, even though people is a little scary. Gigi is definitely feral, though. I have to bring her into the vet on Thursday to get her cone off and for her to be sedated for it, because we're still in a no-touch policy. Hey, thank you for the follow, Nupgek. You're having a wonderful night so far. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the cult. It is. Void has me trapped. Whatever you want it to be, baby. It's a choose your own adventure. Welcome, Smoops. Hope you're having an amazing night so far. Happy Tuesday, BBs. Just don't watch your nails. Don't bite my fingies. We need to do your nails. They haven't been done since you got spayed. We gotta do that. Not when you're in crazy mode. But Voya bit my finger earlier and it's kind of swollen. Voya bit my finger. It was not fun. If it keeps swelling, I'm gonna have to go get antibiotics tomorrow. He was not happy with pill time today. I got his last pill in his mouth and he chomped on my finger. Oh my goodness. Knock on wood, though. I think he is getting more in the clear for his bladder issues, which I appreciate and need, and he needs to appreciate and need. His habits are pretty good the last 24 hours, which I am, of course, taking great strides to stay calm because I have no desire to stay calm. Well, I do, but naturally calm does not come to me. How's that arm taste? It's a yummy little arm. Om nom 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 nom. Om nom 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 nom. PB was such a brave girl for her shots today. Wood knocked. Well, thank you. We appreciate the effort. All of the knocking on wood, all of the crossing fingers and paws. I think he's probably just going to have to get like an anti-inflammatory shot every month. And hopefully that'll keep it under control. I got them new prescription food. It was just the urinary food before, and they make something called a Calm. Is it Royal Canin? Not Kalen, Canin. Doesn't have like CBD or anything in it, but it has a valerian root in it. So now he gets the Calm kitty bag with the fluffy version of Voya on the front. And I think that one's helping too. It's a fancy fluffy Voya. But it's for his PP issues and helps for Calm, which is good. It's very good. When do I got my own parking spot at Dr. Vet's? I don't know. I think I finally actually have one. Like, there's this one particular spot that I park in almost every time, and it's almost always open. But it's also halfway between, like, get your toy. Like the front door and the end of the parking lot, and human nature, you want to park as close as possible, but I like parking a little further so I have space to not be encroached upon by humans. Look at this little playgirl. I don't even know what toy you've got, but you've got something. Oh, you got Mousy. Mousy is grand. Did you just get your legs stuck in that? You have no common sense. How did you survive outside? I think Slavka is going to be a bit much for her. But hopefully she'll discipline Slavka, unlike how she disciplined her children. I don't know. That's Slavka's problem. No one disciplines her, including me. She just does things and then gets told that she's naughty, and then nothing happens. Nothing comes of it. You lost your toy under the couch, lady. Where'd it go? I love Slavka so much, but she is for such a small cat, she has so many big feelings and so many big choices and so many big opportunities that she invents for herself. Like, I don't know. I feel like Slavka, what's even the wording I'm looking for here? If Slavka was a person, she would probably be much more successful in life than I. And that sounds silly, but like, let me explain. Like, I've learned my limits over the years, but I know how to also like extend over them and not really fuck myself up too much. But sometimes it still happens. I don't think in a nutshell, I don't think Slavka would be capable of burnout. And she would probably be able to, if she was a person, like stream 12 hours a day, every single day, never taking a break, always having something interesting to do. Always, I want to be Slavka when I grow up. She's my hero. And Void is such an idiot. A lovable idiot. Slavka just she has drive. She has passion. It doesn't matter what she's going into. She has the passion to muster her way through it in whatever way she wants to. If she wants to get it done, she gets it done. She doesn't care about limitations. Lady, what you doing? What you doing? I don't know where the chair is. There it is. It's not too far back. Oh, my back just popped. I feel good. Mamas. I love watching her play. It's like watching a big kitten play. She plays in almost the same way that Charlie does, a little bit more exaggerated. I really hoped her and Charlie want to be friends. Oh my god, so everyone is in love with Daisy. I called my dad today because my back door broke. And that sounds like a giggity, but like the doorknob for my back door of my house broke. Kind of temporarily, kind of fixed, but that's besides the point. But you are a mess, girl. I gotta sweep under the furniture. Oh my god. It's covered in floof right now. What was I saying? Oh, I got an update on Daisy, and one, Sylvester is not in love with her, but he's tolerating her and mostly ignoring her, which is good because Sylvester can be an angry man. And her and Nermal are totally in love. She accidentally gave Simon a tummy upset because Simon really likes her kitten food. So Simon overate it and then crapped his pants and barfed. Oops. My dad was not happy about that. But Daisy and Mushi are tearing up around the house, and my dad is like overjoyed about it. They're having so much fun together. Like, Daisy is the alpha. She is large and in charge. She's the cutest little thing, and everyone loves her, and I'm so happy. He called her Daisy today, so I don't know if he's gonna change her name or not. He said he wanted to name her something after her tail, and I told him to call her Little Big Tail, jokingly, but now I'm worried that he might. Blank was moving on her while she was trying to do her pre-pounce routine. Oh, you didn't have good traction, Mama. No wonder you derped that up. Now it's bath time. You had to clean off the embarrassment. Your little curly tail. Everyone's tails look so short to me after being so used to Daisy's tail now. She doesn't really care about this, and I don't know if I should keep it for PB or if I want to bring it to my dad's. And she doesn't like when I pick it up and move it either. She just hid under the couch. I'm sorry, baby. Maybe I'll bring it to my dad's to give for Daisy. I don't know. She doesn't really care about that one. But then Peeps might be into it within the next couple of weeks, too. She was such a brave girl for her 8-week shots today. I'm so proud. And she's officially considered thriving. I don't have to supplement her with KMR anymore, but the bottle is already made, so we're going to finish up the bottle because I don't believe in wasting things. So she's going to get some milkies for the next couple of days, but she doesn't need it anymore. This would be about the age that she would be, like, fully weaned, too. Oh, there's a cat on Twitter I follow named Monkey. I be following cats everywhere. Online, in-house, on the street, in every beat. Now you think about it, they may have been named for the long tail. Aww. Oh my god, someone telepathically scream at me whenever I'm offline to put that video of Simon and his monkey tail in Discord. Thanks, Mad Topher. That's a high compliment. And welcome. Welcome, welcome. I did a good job at my makeup tonight, but we'll go with your assessment instead. I like that one better. I like that one better. Hello, sweet girl. We're gonna fill up your crunchies. Gotta change your bird TV channel. Oh yeah. I mean, to be fair, most stress is self-induced. And let's change her TV. I'm trying to be as unstressed as possible because I don't want Voya to get sicky from my stress. That's not fair. All right, what birdie TV do we want? Because you're sick of this one. Tap to unlock. That one's winter. Do you want to do some summertime? Oh, that one's not live. What about this one? Voya likes this one. Everything is toy. What about this one, baby girl? I don't know how much difference the data saver thing actually makes. I mean, it does like a little bit with quality, but I don't know how much it keeps it from going off of the Wi-Fi hardcore. What you think, baby girl? There's new burbs. There's Squirrel. You want to come see Mr. Squirrel? She's either going to run up on Mr. Squirrel or she's going to run up on Fishy. 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 Do you want to watch a fish tank? That doesn't make like exciting bird sounds though. Is there a fish tank stream? What would that be? Like fish bird TV or fish cat TV? Oh, I wonder if Void would like tablet games. Oh, it was the old one that broke that I returned, but then warranted for this one that I had the. There's a Friskies app. You guys tried any of the tablet apps with your cats? If you have a tablet and cats. I'm trying to remember who I played that one with. Maybe it was a little kid. How do you Play Store on? How do you Android? I know not of these things. I think it was either Friskies or Meow Mix. Cat games for cats. Catfishing? Oh, it was Purina. That's what it was. They swim around on the screen. And it's like a whack-a-mole kind of gameplay. I mean, it's Tuesday games night. It's the least we can do. Boyd. You gotta come over here to try it, though. It's like, nah, I'm good here. What's that sound? Blurp, blurp, blurp. I mean, you got a fishy. I think you're motivated for it. I think so. This thing's cool. Oh. I probably have an account, but I have no idea what it is. Redacted information. Redacted. What I really hope doesn't happen is it'll come up with, when I put in my email, and they'll say, oh, you already have an account? Use this to log in, because I don't want to. So I'm going to use my stream email, not my me email. A business professional email. Was that even gonna... Sometimes a certain character doesn't count as a special character. I hate the Android keyboard. If I ever switched to an Android phone, I would have such a hard time with the change in the keyboard layout. Where was I the other day? I had to fill out something on a tablet. Oh, it was when I went to emergency care. Or immediate care, whatever it is. Yeah, it is Funky Monkey. They had Android tablets and you had to type out a whole bunch instead of just like a tiny little check-in. And I felt stupid doing it. Oh no, it was my surgery check-in. That's what it was. My doctor is so nice. And doctor slash... Oh, you have to confirm your email to play it. Good Lord. Boy, you're gonna pull this over. She is so nice, but the receptionists at her office are so bitchy. Like, I hate talking to them because it's like... You make me feel like I'm bothering you. She is so happy. Even cats getting ads in their games. What's it come to? Oh my goodness. Here, I'm gonna have to check my email really quick. Please verify your email. Fucking stupid. Your registration has been confirmed. Hi, Void. Mama. Look, we have a fishy game for you. Add your cat's profile. Add cat. Is your cat a girl? Cat's name Void. Mama Void. Mama, I'm coming home. Mama Void. When did you adopt Mama Void? Within 6 months. September, October, November, December, January. That's 5 months that we've been together, Void. No way. No way. Oh, when should Void's birthday be? Are you having a birthday this month, Void? If she was 6 months around July when we got Tank in, then she would have been born like January or February, right? January, February, March, April, May, June, July. July is 7 months. So can we make her birthday Valentine's Day? That would be cute. I'm making her birthday Valentine's Day. Let's see. That would have been 2024. Tank came in. Yes. Or I mean, we can always check the I don't really know box, but meh. One last step. Take a photo of your cat. I don't even know where the camera is on this. Void, say cheese. Don't lick your ass. Say cheese. Is that the photo button? Void. Oops. No. I don't want a picture of her eating ass. Void. Mama. 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 Ooh, 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 ooh. Look at the camera, girlfriend. Void. Void, void, void. She's so unbothered. Void. Look at me. Look at me. Void. I feel like the receptionists have to be bitchy if the doctor is nice and vice versa. You know what? That actually makes sense. Because if it's a doctor who really cares and like gets on your level, and she's the first doctor I've ever met that's like that, like not just very bookish and cold, which I understand when you're in a specialty, like you're not going to have as much bedside manner as like a primary care physician, because you kind of have to detach to be able to do all of the cut and opens that you do. So maybe it is like done like that on purpose, because maybe the doctor lacks at having boundaries and the receptionist kind of reins them in, and vice versa. Void, are you going to look at the camera? We can do better than that. Come on, girlfriend. Hi. Thank you. It's as good as it's gonna get there. Submit photo. Would make Valentine's Day a day worth celebrating, right? We could celebrate Galentine's Day together. Make it like a two-day experience. Oh, sure. Then I don't have to feel weird about trying to celebrate Valentine's Day with the boys. Because they'll be doing it with Void. Yes, you're special and fancy. I bet PB would like this thing. I'll try it with her later this week. She's kind of feeling yucky from her shots. Customize your catch? There are endless possibilities. Oh, I'm such a bad mom, too. Diesel has to go get his rabies shot redone tomorrow. Because their first one can only be 1 year. Like, you can't do a 3-year for their first rabies shot. Um, and I kept thinking, like, oh, his birthday is in May. He won't, or March? May? I think we decided May. Like, he won't be due until then. But no, he was due on the 23rd. Oopsies. So I can't refill his medication until he gets his rabies shot. We gotta do it tomorrow. We can customize our fishies. I'm gonna have more fun with this than she will. Oh, it's like Void is playing Spore. Which one should she have? The fish, the crab, or the shrimp? I would assume they all move around about the same. Valentine's Day. Oh, I do like that. Valentine's Day. That makes me think of Pal from Arthur. The fishies or the crabs or the shrimp? I feel like she'd like the fishies, but like that's basic. Void, I think your birthday is going to be Valentine's Day. I like that. I'm also really good at forgetting like everyone's birthday. And do fishies. Oh, we got. Do you want fancy fish? Or she would probably like the trail ones. They'll have like sparkles coming out of their butt. But then there's fancy fish, or glowing, or cartoon, or realistic. Which one do you want? Do you like the fancy or the trail? Fancy is nice, but the trail is probably more interesting. Add some color for cat-tastic fun. Gray, yellow, blue, red, orange, purple, mixed. Rainbow fish. Aw, that was a cute book. Rainbow fish. Slow, because we don't know what we're doing yet. Lay your device at a flat surface next to your cat. Now she's eating and totally uninterested in everything. Voya. Or Void. I just called you Voya. Jeez. I'm no better than the vet. And change your settings anytime by tapping here. Those are so mesmerizing. So she just has to like step on the pad and it makes them swim faster. Oh god, now they're like extra Slavic. Voidia. Voidia. Voidia, come to me. And it's just two outdoor cats coming in tow. Like Slavushka Maruska. Voidia. Mommy, do you care about the fish? I don't think so. She's a hungry girl now. Yeah, I gotta bop out of here to make them like appear and reappear, but I'm trying to get her interested in it. Yeah, what's that? Oh, no, check it out. Check it out. You get the fish. She doesn't give a fuck. She's on her merry way. Now it's bath time again. Or stare into the corner. Stare into the void. No, we gotta go look for other toys. Okay. I try so hard, and then they just don't care. I love cats. I wonder if Peebs would like this one, though. Let's bring it in with her and try it. I think she would enjoy it. Welcome, Midnight Dynamite. I love these glasses, too. They're so cute. And they decrease the tired by like 50%. It's nice. She's not an iPad baby. The first of her kind in this house. Just like, I'm going to play under the dresser. How does that work for you, Mom? Okay, just fine. Just fine. All right, I love you, Miss Mama Bear. No, how do I carry all of this and the tab? I don't know. Gotta do this like back to school style. God, is this how kids do it these days? Like you're not carrying around heavy ass textbooks? You just do this? I always hated stopping at my locker, and I had all 4 years of high school, I had a locker that was horribly convenient for exiting or entering the building, but on the ass end outside of any classroom. So it was always super inconvenient and overly time consuming, therefore late to class, if I would stop at my locker. So I would carry around all my books all day long when I did go to school. And it was not pleasant. Peebs is feeling. Oh, oops. Feeling kind of yucky from getting her shots today. She's been mostly laying in that corner, not really eating or drinking today. Oh, there's an uppy girl. There's an uppy girl. Hi, Mama. I'm gonna grab your milkies so it doesn't go to waste. And then I'm gonna see if you like your little tablet. And see how that's gonna go. I pretty much officially don't have to wear PPE around her anymore, which is nice. I think it closed the fishy game. Or did it lock me back out again? This tablet is kind of dumb. I guess everything is kind of dumb tonight. The phone's not working either. That's nice. Everything just reset itself, so I have nothing that was just said, and it got yeeted. Please don't perma-lock me out right now, tablet. Oh, I hate when it does this. Oh, peeps, we can't try it. I gotta turn it off for a little bit and then turn it back on because it won't let me back in. I don't know why, but it just glitches and I log into it and then like give it my PIN. And then it goes back to the give me my PIN page and then over and over and over and over again. There was an attempt. I had a feeling that would happen if I locked it. I try not to lock it because that's what happens. Get your Mlecco, little baby peas. Your pumpkin too. We still gotta keep doing pumpkin. There's that. Double. Double. Keep habitually going back to close that door. Still covering my paws just in case, but otherwise, she is thriving at this point, which is amazing. Oh my goodness. I know my vet knows that I'm good at what I do, and I know he's good at what he does, but today he was super nice, and he was like, you did a really good job with this little one. I was like, oh, thank you. Like, I know I'm doing a good job with her, and I know she's doing amazing, and I know I've helped her a lot, but it's nice to hear from an outside source, especially like a professional outside source. Oh, I need to take meds. I cannot be late on that anymore. I just can't. Hold on, peeps. I'm sorry. I briefly saw what I missed on the computer screen, and I think cats playing tablet games is the most adorable thing in the world. I love it. And I'm also jealous that you have the block system. My high school was set up so horribly. Like, so horribly. We were overcrowded. And that was part of the problem. But the other part of the problem was just how it was set up horribly. There was really no such thing as a block system until your senior year when you had, like, the school to work program. And even then, you still had to legally stay for up to, like, a study hall lunchtime. So you would have a pointless hour of have to stay before you could be released. That's interesting that they did the block system for that kind of issue. I don't feel like that would have been affected. We just had staggered schedules. So, like, the seniors would start at a certain time, and then the juniors and sophomores would start at a certain time, and then the freshmen would start at a different time. But it was only delayed by like 25 to 30 minutes each, which was quite ridiculous. And she's feeling yuck from her shots. She's feeling low energy. My poor little bean. My poor little bean. But it was a really stinky setup because then, like, elective classes that you would take with any age group, unless you were a freshman, so like junior, sophomore, senior, there was a sewing class that I had signed up for, and one, they screwed up the busing and the timing for it, and two, only three of us signed up for the class. So they canceled the class, and then I had an empty period and I missed an elective. I think it was my sophomore year. So I didn't have to, but if I wanted to stay on like the perfect graduating track and not overwhelm myself in like the actual school year, I ended up doing 2 sessions of summer school one summer and then 1 session of summer school another summer. But the next summer that I had 1 session, I also had driver's ed. So it was like 2 sessions of summer school, 2 years in a row. It was so stupid, though. They shouldn't offer a class that they can't fulfill. It was a sewing class, and I was really excited for it. I feel like I would have learned a lot. It would have been beneficial. Last COVID shot you had was the worst. I felt of all the vaccinations. Oh, mine was too. I think the last one I got was horrible timing, but I don't think it has too much of causation versus correlation. Like a couple months before I started getting sick, and that one knocked me out hard for a couple days. It hurt my arm the most. But I also got poked in the same arm each time, so maybe it was like muscle tissue. What were the hours of summer school? Oh, geez. Um, Regular school started at 6:44 was the median for most. For some seniors, it started at 5:44. For some freshmen, it started at 7:44. But most of everyone started at 6:44. For summer school, I think they had us for 7:30 until 1:30, I feel like. That was a long time ago. I liked summer school though because we did like 4 weeks of lessons in one day. and it would just be all this information splurged at you, and then you just had to memorize it. And I like learning in speed mode like that. It's a nice little challenge. It motivates me versus like day-to-day tiny lesson plans are annoying. Whoa! Where are you going, girl? You rumble tumbled. You're good. Blurp. Yeah, 5:44 a.m. It was my freshman year. I think we started at 7:44, and then junior senior we started at 6:44, and then if you weren't in the work program as a senior and you did like all day of classes, then you started at 7:44 as well. Or no, 6:44. And then if you were a senior doing work program, you started at 5:44 so that you could get the legal amount of gym class and lunch and study hall period. I think this differs by state. I think each state has to offer a lunch hour. Um, I don't actually know that for sure, but I know gym class is like not in all states or maybe even in all districts, but I think it's a statewide thing, where you don't have to have gym class all 4 years, or it can be supplemented with another thing. But in Illinois, you have to have gym class all of your years of school, which I really loved as someone who's incredibly athletic, right? She's escaping the beanie that took her to the vet for bad things. I know. The vet tech that wants her was loving on her today a whole bunch. Hi, baby. She's so cute. They all kind of agreed, though. Like, she's bigger, but, like, still oddly shortly proportionate. So I'm very curious to see how she's gonna progress in size. But she's a little over 2 pounds now. Oh my goodness. Feelings hurt. We go back inside now. I know. I ruined your day. I'm sorry, Peebs. I'm sorry. Do you want some Milkies, though? What about Milkies? Like, I still have half the bottle left. I'm not gonna waste it. Just give her a little extra sustenance. Give her a daily protein shake. Yeah, walk on that camera so it flips over and then I forget about it and then I can't see you. Do it. Do it. Do it to it. I put gloves on and I didn't really need to, but it was out of habit. She's still having some not solid poops, but she's over her upper respiratory infection now, which would be the biggest issue. The vet tech ends up adopting her. It would be nice to see adult pictures of Peewee just to finally see if she's some sort of dwarf. I know. The only thing that worries me is if she's a dwarf cat is that, what is it? Hypothyroidism is common in them, so that she wouldn't process like her calories adequately, and it would put stress on her organs. So I think I want to run blood work when she goes in for her 12-week shots again, so we can compare the blood work and make sure that she's still on a healthy path internally. I did text her finder today, and I gave a little update of like, you got a tiny little dirty butt, girl. And this is her 8-week milestone. She got her shots today, blah, blah, blah. And she didn't really say anything about wanting her. She was just like, oh, she's so cute. I'm so glad she's doing well. So I think that the husband ship has sailed. Which is fine. Everyone in the family needs to be on board. If you're adopting an animal, you can't just appease the four people and leave the fifth person angry and out. Everyone needs to be on board for it. So I think she's gonna end up going to my vet tech. I don't know if this is rude or not, but I would assume that I'll talk to her about it, and they know that I'm kind of like an idiot. Um, but I think once she gets to like the ready to be spayed mark, um, I'm gonna ask. I'll offer two options of like either you can do her spay surgery and get her spayed, and I know that she'll be well and good and all of that, but I don't know what that will cost her, if she can even do it like for free or discount or whichever. But then I'll waive the adoption fee, or vice versa. If she wants me to pay to get her spayed, then the adoption fee will still apply. Hi, you want your Mleko? I don't know if it's just because they're so cute or if it's my own sanity. Hi, baby. But I really liked having the other kids until about 16, 17 weeks. That was really nice. I felt confident having them go to their new homes at that point, like they had grown up and gotten healthy. And granted, being adopted by a vet tech, she would have probably much better care than I could even give her. But I think I'm doing an okay job, first and foremost. And secondarily, I like the time with them. I enjoy it. That perspective will probably change the more and more and more we foster, in terms of there's always going to be more input than output, unfortunately, but that's just the world we live in. And then I'll have to decide what I feel best about with that. But I think it helps me emotionally, and if I'm able to keep my emotions regulated through it and feel good about every step that I'm making, then I'm probably not going to hit any sort of, why can I not get any pumpkin here? Like rescue burnout, like compassionate burnout, because that's very real, and I don't want to go through that. But I feel like at this point in time, for my soul, just enjoying time with them is very special and important for me. There, we finally got some pumpkin now, girlfriend. Jeez. Jeez Louise. Ready? Ready? Ready, Freddy? I know, I'm sorry. Punky, 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 punky. She really has not ate or drank at all today. She does not feel good after her shots. But I'm not worried. The other babies were really sleepy when they would get their shots. She'll be back to normal by like noon tomorrow. Hi, baby girl. I'm so proud of you. You were so big and brave today. Yes. She went on an escape mission last night, and she almost ran under the TV, like under the stand for it, the little moving cart. So I like jumped up to grab her, but then I startled her when I jumped up to grab her, and she ran all the way out into the hallway and then just like froze, like, oh God, new territory, don't know what to do. And I went to pick her up, and she's like, and she was hissing at me. It was so cute. I felt bad, but it was adorable. Mommy, it's okay. It's okay. She's just feeling yucky. Poor girl. Poor girl. I know, we don't feel good when we get our shots. It's okay. She's not mad at me. She just doesn't feel good. Hi. You'll feel better tomorrow. Yes, you will. Or rub your face on the litter box. That works too. Come here, baby bean. Here, let's get some real mom smells. We don't need these silly gloves on. Her little hissies are so funny. Like, they're not even serious. It's like, imagine like a 2-year-old, like a toddler comes up to you and is like, square up, bitch, square up. And how intimidating is that? Like, it's hilarious. That's where she was at with that one. What are you doing? Yeah, I'm being an owie puppy. I got my shots. I'm just so proud of her. Like, she is officially thriving, and that is amazing. Oh, I just got charged for the tolls that I went through. I was gonna be really late to my surgery follow-up appointment, so I went the tollway way, which I hate doing, and my bank just notified me that they took my tollway dollars. Honestly, at this point, I should just get an iPass. I don't know. I don't know how expensive they are. Maybe it would be worth it. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't think I go through more than at most like $25 of tolls a year when I do end up going through tolls because I'll be late otherwise. I don't know, toddlers can be mean. But like the sheer scale to size of like fully formed human versus like 2 foot tall creature. Like there's no way they can take you and it's all talk. Whether it is all talk or not. Oh, you think I'm gonna play with the toy? You think I'm gonna play with the toy? Oh, even her plays are guarded. Silly biscuit. They're only really worth it if it's on your regular commute route. No, I probably go through tolls at most like quarterly. So it's what? It just charged me $9.60, so round up to $10. 10 times 4, $40. So if it cost more than $40, it wouldn't be worth it. I mean, that's a 10-year-old. That's old enough to develop rage. 2-year-olds, they're just all talk. I need to figure out what those Chinese handcuff toys are called. My dad is so funny. Like, he doesn't even try to be funny, and that's when he's the funniest. Um, I brought one of the Chinese handcuff toys over with Daisy, because Daisy loves them. And my dad was like arguing with me that they are Chinese handcuffs until I popped out the sides and they were like a long straight toy again, like a piece of beef jerky. It was funny. He's like, well, I guess it's not, but it sure looks like it. You like it though. I gotta figure out what they're called so I can buy them in bulk because everyone loves them. I actually freaked out when I was a kid when we went to, um, oh, what are they called? A fun fair. One of the, not my school, but one of the schools within the district did a fun fair when I was in grade school, and I won a Chinese finger handcuffs. The, what is it, finger traps? Yeah, those. For one of the games that I played. And on the car ride home, I obviously put my fingers on it and then couldn't get them back out. And I couldn't figure it out, and it worried me deeply. And my dad wouldn't help me because I needed to figure it out myself. And it was quite the time until I was like crying. I thought I was stuck forever. Um, and his girlfriend at the time finally was like, okay, you just do this and then you're free. Oh my God. That's embarrassing to think back upon. I haven't thought about that in a long time. But I sure did get trapped by him. Little playgirl. Little playgirl. She's like playing in slow mode. Slow mode, baby. Now bath time. Bath break. Bath break. You'll feel better tomorrow, Mommy. I promise. I promise. I love you, sissy girl. I love you. I love you. Back to her dwarfiness, though. If she really was like 5, 6 weeks when I picked her up, her eyes still should have been bluish. And they've been green the whole time. So I do wonder if she's maybe a little bit older than what we think. We'll see. We'll see how you grow as you grow. Like she has gotten bigger all over, comparing pictures of when she first got here versus today. But she's still stubby proportionate. She's got little T-Rex arms. She's a little T-Rex. Now she's eating ass. It would be a bit more embarrassing in adulthood. I don't know. I was like 7 or 8 and just in the back seat stuck. I think my dad wanted me to, like, calm down and think about it rationally, but obviously that was not happening. I'm glad his girlfriend helped me. Like, my dad's a very, like, learn from experience, figure it out yourself kind of person. Like, be self-sufficient. And I'm a panic monger kind of person. I freak the fuck out. And those two personalities do not mesh. They clash. They're like magnets. They don't quite go together. You want to be relaxing? Be relaxing. You can do it. Okay. I'm gonna put one of my streams on for her for comfort. Stripes and Nibbler's new daddy inspired me with that because he was playing my streams for the girls so they would come out of hiding. The twins. And I've been doing it for PB and I think she likes it. I feel kind of cocky, like playing myself in another room, and I'm certainly not trying to falsely inflate my views. Like it's for the cat, okay? It's for the cat. That way, it's like I'm talking to her when I'm not even in here. So cute and sweet. I think the PlayStation is still on. I napped with PB earlier. It's very egotistical. It's very, very self-centered. Warp. But I think she likes it. I would hope. I think I am accidentally inflating my views though, because I'm not logged into Twitch. I just search myself because I'm too lazy to log into Twitch. Load. Load. Search. Serena TV, 2 underscores. Oh, is it gonna take? I've never tried to do this while I'm live. Is it gonna take me to my live? I don't want that. I want my VODs. How do I do that? Oh, past videos. Which one is like an hour long? Or 4 hours long? Doop. There, that one. A little over 5 hours. There we go. Alright, Phoebes. We got your stream on. I've got your stream. Miss Thing. I love you, Mommy. Maybe. Twitch is connected. I can still work now. There we go. I love you, little bean. I am in the room with you, even though I'm not in the room with you. I feel so bad. She's feeling so ugly. I would be more concerned if I didn't see Stripes and Nibbler and Daisy go through the same thing when, boop, they got their shots, but... Oh, this tripod is broken now, too. I'm not winning at tripods. Now my phone flipped. Tripods don't like me. Very strange. Well, I mean, I think I've played this one for her like 10 times now. But I'm not worried about it. But I am being transparent about it. Put her stuff away in the kitchen. Pop us back into the stream room. I meant to check on our zombie bitten girl last night because I think one of the things said log in for 3 days. Oopsies. I don't know if that means consecutively. She might be dead. Hi, John. Chauncey. Yeah, fancy boy you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Miss Void, I love you. We'll try tablet again later after it takes a break. Tablet is confused on how to function. Bloop, bloop, bloop. I need to flip this gate around so it's not an awkward side walk through. Hello, boys. Did we do any things when I was not in the room? No, you guys have just laid there and slept. My good little babies. My good little babies. Pants, nothing fits right now. I've lost so much weight. Nothing fits. I have those tied as tight as they will tight. Tied as tight as they will tight. Eh. There we go. So they're kids' pants. There's not really much drawstring to kids' pants. Adult pants get much more drawstring. This one. You flip us back over. I'm kind of warm. I keep going in between like hot and cold tonight. It's happening again. Just need longer drawstrings. I like to remember to fold over my pants before they're falling off. There we go. And we're back. And we're back. Need tighter after running in the dryer on high heat for a little bit. Like for the first 5 minutes I wear them. It's not as effective with sweatpants as it is with like jeans. Because I used to do that with my jeans like every day before school. Because you don't have to wash jeans every day. So I'd throw them in the dryer so they would fit again. But then by the end of the day, they'd be falling off my ass again. I always hated wearing belts. And now at this point in my life, I just accept wearing belts if I'm going to wear jeans. Because otherwise, at some point, they will fall off my butt. They just will. Things don't fit forever. Need some suspenders. I'm going between like hot and freezing tonight. Like I start breaking out into a sweat and then a few minutes later I'll be cold. I took my temperature earlier and it's fine, so I don't know why. It's just one of the joys of life. Pop into game. Yes, run. Run, run as fast as you can. Burr, 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 burr. Was it that one? And then that. Shrinky-dink, Serena. I don't remember. Did I flip my camera over last time we did this? I think so. That seems right. Alright, let me jump down here and swap us on Twitch. Oh, I already said it too. Nobody cares about categories on Twitch, so I can make it the wrong one for as long as I want and have not gotten bonked for it yet. Haha. Haha. It's annoying though. I want to stop losing weight. I feel like I'm like losing more like muscle mass than weight. I don't know. But I can't work out yet again for another couple of weeks. Firstly, And I had another complaint attached to that. I don't remember what it was. Oh, I hadn't even been taking my Ritalin. So that has nothing to do with it. Thankfully, but I'm supposed to see my doctor, I think, February 4th? For a make sure you didn't lose too much weight taking this check-in. And it's like, I haven't taken it since before surgery. Like, mostly I just keep forgetting. Like, I built up the habit to take it, and then they told me not to take it the day of, and the second day after. Like, the day that I'm home, the next morning, whatever, and then I've just forgotten to take it since. Oops. I know you're out there peeking, bit. Oh, it does. It doesn't go on consecutiveness. It's just whenever you get there. I like that participation points. She's really into that whole like shoe fetish existence here. Alright, where's all the stuff? Give me the stuff. Oh, no. I don't, no, thank you. Do you panic more? Yes. Oh, boy, bit my my mouse finger. Boy, what'd you do that for? There's the other one. Event center. Ooh. I'm not ready for that though. What was this? Oh, nope. Nope. None of those for you, Serena. Oh, reward preview. Cock tease. It's weird hearing myself in the other room. A box. It's a box. And yeah. I like that little music video. Come back. You're free. Give to me. Oh, please collect file. You know what? Nobody got time for that. Daily boost. Oh, didn't we already do that? Welcome, get some. How you doing tonight? Yes! New computer chair. I found it on the side of the road. It's schmancy. It's executive. It's a $500 chair. Whoever was throwing it away definitely had pets because it's like scritched up. But I like it. I think it's schmancy. I'm enjoying it. 'Tis my fancy new chair. Thank you for commending my efforts to drag it into the house. Actually, it was easier to get in the house than it was to get into my car. Mission. Oh, participation points mission. Top Commander. That's a tall ask. Do you have thank Midnight Dynamite? Appreciate you popping in. We have so many tomatoes. definitely overdid that all a little bit. We're going home. Special effects down in this are so. Is there a settings menu? I don't think so. Flame sauce. That's a little less obnoxious. So what if we do that? Then like up that a little bit. Is that brain mash? I don't know if it is or isn't. It might be. Bitch, I might be. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope the day has been kind to all. PB had fun hanging out with you guys last night. There's many things being asked of us here. My goodness. You plant a tree? Flaming soul? A street lamp? Won't that just attract the zombies? A bright path. I want a tree. That's a good spot for a tree. You want me to do all these things, but I'm not ready to do all these things. Don't you know? That's more search and rescue. Radio trouble is. Eliminate the zombies. Legendary. A biochemical battle. Rescue survivors. Eliminate zombies. Maybe we'll bop there first. Did we get a new shelter skin? Does it show one new? Did we? I don't think we had that one before. We just had the cottagey looking ones. I think. It's a brick house. That's hype. I kind of like it. A legendary survivor. Manage survivors. Jack, the Pumpkin King. He's a little pretty boy. I don't trust him. No more levelage for you, Jack. Recruit Hannah. Oh, she's cute. My little glasses twin tonight. Stranger Danger. I don't know what this music is, but I'm kind of enjoying it at the moment. Is that bad? Hero EXP will exceed by 200 in excess. EXP will be saved until hero's next max level pursuit. I don't know if that's good or bad. We're just not gonna do it. 2 talent points. Bum, bum, bum. I think that's valid. I don't know if it's bad to have that out of balance. That's confusing. We have one more. Do we want it on defense or speed? I made the other guy speedy. He can be defensive. Defense! It doesn't sound like the warning would be a bad thing, but it does look deceptively confusing. Like, are you sure you want to do this thing that maybe doesn't matter? It doesn't seem like it should matter to me. But I don't pretend to understand the numbers game. Hero XP will exceed by 100, and excess EXP will be saved until hero's max level. So I think it means that it'll only level them up to, like, it'll bank. I think this is my understanding anyway, that it will bank the EXP until you get to your max level, and then it'll throw it in instead of manually putting it in, maybe? That still doesn't sound correct, though. I don't know. It's like a good night drive song. Oh, can he go uppies? Stars! Did I miss rank ups for the other guys? Shit. I did! No, you don't get a rank. Liam. Not her either. Maybe they're just trying to warn you that you can't go over a certain amount. Like, it can only be met up to a certain threshold. You're out of points. You can't level up anymore. Owie. I scraped my foot earlier and it's ouchy. I don't quite know what to do about that. Ow. Ugh, humanness. It's one old bear then. Much might. Mighty! Mighty Joe Young. I told you to go back. Back! Now we have one remaining. Where's that one going to go? Into support. I already took care of Grandma. I guess it's just kind of warning you if you overdo it, there's no point in overdoing it. Take it slow. Which is fine by me. With a tortoise in the hair, slow and steady wins the race. Nothing. Accomplished. 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 A research lab only costs 100 tomatoes. Maybe the zombie apocalypse is a good thing. I don't know. That's pretty cheap, I feel like. Or did I not lock the other thing in place? I might not have. Are you still showing one more? There's not one more. Lies. Slander and lies. I know you're out there thinking. Well, you know what? Merp merp. No, I did not lock it into place. Looks like the research lab in the woods. The Atlas lab. From Tales from the Borderlands. A bulletin board. Okay. Is that on fire? It's not good. Oh. It's just melting steels. Let's do some noble things. Oh, we get medicine? And tomatoes and wood? Maybe? Oh, we just drove through a bunch of zombies. And they're right over there, too. What are they doing? What are they eating? Are they om-nomming a titan? I have concerns. I have much and many concerns. I didn't even pay attention. Did we finish? Did we catch them all, Pokemon? No. Yes. That was confusing. There's like no indication. Camp after attacking? No, thank you. I don't know. Is it worth it? March? I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. No, I'm cold. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. Get him. I think. Maybe. Theoretically. Hypothetically. Possibly. Heal. Healy, healy. You knew that would come up at some point. We're good, but we're not that good. What is this? Level legendary? Like, is that bad? Elite execution. I mean, I guess we all die and then heal, or we win. We have a major advantage. So why does it make it look so difficult? No, stranger danger. Stranger danger. We got him. Where's back home? North. The North remembers. It is very different. But I think I'm only seeing it so comparatively because I keep expecting it to be so similar to the other one. And it's just not. More? What's this? Transport supplies? Rare. We get medicines. Let's do one more, and then we'll battle around the board. Didn't even claim my rewards. Serena. Come on now. I guess fuck them survivors. Oh, Commander, do you want to supply the following resources to all the men? Sure. Take my tomatoes. Take my wood. Have a good time. Sustain yourselves. Sustain and succeed. Oh, why is this all borked sideways? Oops. I got so locked into game that I did not even notice. There you go. Biggie. There's an awkward black bar at the side. You're already exploring this area, Commander. Well, you know what? Your commander is an EP girl. I don't always remember every dang zombie apocalypse center that we've gone to. Oh, I forgot those. Oh, that one wants us to go over there. Battle music. Oh, what are those rolly things? I don't want that. I don't think I can do anything about shooting at them. Oh my god. Oh fuck. I didn't mean to run into that one. I meant to go slower. Oh, that was too fast. Too zoomy. Oh shit. I'm not gonna get that. Oh, fork. Oh, fork. Oh, fork indeed. Send in the drones! Alright, man, bear, pig. Oh, that was not pleasant. I don't like those. Can we jump? Like spacebar jump? Please? That would be nice. Oh, no! Don't fool yourself into thinking you're making it easy for me. Goofy goober. Goofy goose. Okay, fine. Nope, decent. Get gutted. +5. $4,000. How would that even be gettable? I think I need to upgrade this boy. Or maybe not. Someone needed an upgrade. I'ma upgrade you. Hims. What do you want me to do then? Goofy goober? Goofy goober goob. Congratulations, you got. Now I think we can do this. Now it makes sense. Or not. Skills. Got the skills to pay the bills. And give the zombies some mortal thrills. Whether they consider it a thrill or not, I don't know. They're zombies. I've never been a zombie. I don't know what zombies think. Okay, we heard you the first time, friend. We had you the first time. More land. Because I have like a whole like Fort Knox up in this bitch. That's crazy. Headquarters level 9? Where are we at? Level 7? I think it'll take a minute so we can run it in the background if... Free completion. Doot doot doot. Oh, sure. We like free. Free is good. I guess upgrading the hospital is probably a good choice. Ah, you can only run it one at one time. I think we determined that the other night, but I was a tired girly. For 8 minutes. $30. That's a lot of diamonds though. I don't know about that one. Ranged barracks, rider barracks. So do we have horses? Oh no, motorcycles. I got excited for a moment. Free! Evenly matched. That's scary. Right, one more and then we'll... Flood troops. Do some scavenging and zombie killing and exploring. I feel like that's a time where it's definitely quantity over quality. One of the few rare occasions. I want a bigger army than a faster army. Not happening. Send in the drones. Success. You've got mail. That was a very cute sound, boy. Fail? Oh. What? Did we win it or lose it? I think I lost. That's okay. I accept that. I just didn't understand it. Loot crate. Blurp, blurp, blurp. Stuff and things. Stuff and things. So much resource packs. We're rich in tomatoes and wood. And steel. It did seem easy. The one that I think we failed was the one that we scouted out. I think the legendary level one. I think that's what that was referring to. It's confusing because it does say victory at the top, but then... Where was it even? Report. It says victory, but then damage 100. Fail. Oh, no. We did succeed. If more survived than were heavily wounded or died, then I think we succeeded. It's deceptive. The first half of the page is like, you did wonderfully. The second half of the page is like, you fucked it all up. Fail. Fail. I didn't realize my head was blocking it. Fail. It's showing the enemy stats as failed. Well, I don't feel like that's very clear. Where was it? Oh, I see. That's so ridiculous, though. My name is so big. Because I'm the winner. But then it is showing their stats over there. I missed that little labeling portion. Because his name is Tiny. He's the elite executioner. And I'm Chief 211-00-89012. In big letters. And numbers. It's a bizarre layout. That was confuddling. Congratulations, you are a winner. Zoom, zoom. Zoom, zoom.
This isn't a disaster.
A back alley doctor.
Sacrifice for science.
Okay. So he's like every specialist I've ever seen up until like recently-ish. Mysterious, untraceable, compassionless doctor. I mean, sure, why not? We've never done that before. I don't know what happens there.
All going to hell.
One thing I really like about this game is the same thing I liked about the Game of Thrones game. To where if, like, you're just a casual player. Mad Eye Moody! If you're just a casual player, you really don't have to spend anything in-game, which is nice. Like, some people get into these games and go balls to the walls because they love it so much, and that's wonderful. But then you end up inevitably running out of resources and having to use in-game currency. Or purchase more in-game currency. And I like that it gives you the opportunity to kind of play it both ways. I could be insane about it and make everything go as fast as possible and max level it all as fast as possible, or just play casually. And you pretty much accomplish the same thing. It's slow and steady. It's nice. If you aren't getting confused, chances are it's not a mobile game. It's probably the translation of like the two layouts too, which is odd. It has to work for both versions of screens. I shouldn't have done that doubly. And so we might be able to get one out of each. I button mashed without thinking. Some people also end up spending thousands in games like this. Yeah, that's exactly my point. Like, it's playable without that. You could play it the crazy way too and have your fun with it, but you don't have to. Not trying to special snowflake myself or anything, but I also think I approach games differently than most. Like, most people care more than just being passionate about what they're doing. I'm passionate about what I'm doing, but I don't care per se. Like, I can die 1,000 times and still be happy. And I don't think that's common in the gaming world. It's just not.
If you end up alive, I'll take a fee.
Raid Shadow Legends. That sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't picture what it would be. I feel for you on getting burnt out by it, though. Is it more like a forced kind of pay-to-play gameplay? Like, you really can't get past a certain point or to a certain amount of progression without inevitably having to spend a few bucks? Hi, Voya. Do you want uppy? You're on the sidelines here. Do you want up?
One must always look ahead, no matter how old.
Your battle manuals. Don't tell me shit about my battle manuals. You don't know me. You can upgrade her twice? Yes. Cool.
We've almost won.
I think she needs a shower, though. There's flies.
And also our last hope.
Okay, you're gonna do eatsies. I thought you wanted uppies. But eatsies.
Not today.
You don't have any yet. Why you want to be so shiny? Brov. Brov. It's not forced, but it's a crazy grind if you don't spend any money. Ugh. That would really bother me, and I would get burnt out on the game fast.
Cheers.
Like, this kind of grind I feel like is tolerable. Same thing for the Game of Thrones one. Oh. Okay, so what I need everyone's input here. Presidential roundtable discussion. I'm consulting Congress of Club Cult of Congress. What do we do when we find zombies? Do we kill them or exile them? If we exile them, we'll just end up fighting them again in the world, maybe. Or do we kill them? Like, I would assume just kill them. But then I kind of feel like I'm maybe a dictator-ass bitch. Or at least a dick. I don't know. You get just as far as a paying player if you only had infinite time. Ah, time. Time always gets us. Ready to run the hill. All zombie mentality is that killing is merciful. Okay, that's enough for me. I'm convinced. Thank you, Congressional Roundtable of Club Cult. My King Arthur's court. I think she just got like some pasties and her hair done. I think that's as far as we got there. Boop, boop, boop. And then, oh, what did it have to be for her? Level 9, I think. Ugh. Bitches. Demanding ass bitches. You need to get headquarters to level 9 for me to come out with clothes on. Huh? Newcomer relocator in your bag will be removed. I don't know. How important is that? How important is newcomer relocator in Doomsday? Last survivor. I was thinking more along the lines of it was probably a reference to The Hills Have Eyes. That was my bad. I watched I think I watched the first episode of The Walking Dead like 3 or 4 times. Could not get into it. And my best friend is obsessed with it. Like, he will watch it over and over and over. He loves all of the new series that are coming out with it. He just loves it. I don't understand how or why. But he also kind of, like, loves drama way more than I do. Like, he gets involved in, like... But when we were teenagers, like, he would be way more involved in the friend group drama than I would be involved in. He likes dramatic things more than I do. Not judging, just objectively. And for me, it was too dramatic, The Walking Dead. It wasn't just like watching a zombie movie. It wasn't just gore and violence and survival. It's all these stupid little side stories of, oh, this guy and brother and child and love and and it's just dumb. I couldn't get into it. No shade on anyone who likes it. I love people that love it, so it's acceptable, but I just can't get into it. It was not for me. I can't do that many layers of like frou-frou lala drama. It's not frou-frou lala. I'm just talking shit, but Hill is also a reference for Congress, which is what you thought. We all thought it was 3 different things. Well, the Mantover knew what he was talking about. I assumed The Hills Have Eyes, and that's more like nuclear zombies, though. And cytogenics you into Congress. That's funny. It's amazing how everyone's mind works differently. La 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 la. Really, I'm just being lazy because I'm mimicking the like making out with yourself. But I stayed setting forward for it, so it made less sense. Now Serena doing a woman's show, reenacting The Walking Dead. I would watch that. Oh god, I just run around and eat people. Wait, would I be the zombie or the survivor? We gotta determine that one first. It's too dramatic. I enjoy it for the gore that it was, and the first episode was cool. Like, waking up in the hospital and, you know, like, everyone's gone. And what is the state of the world? And it's spooky ooky. But then they introduce most of the characters that are primarily there at the beginning. It expands even more. Like, at the end of the episode. And already the drama begins. Just already it does. And then I tried the second and third episode, and it was just more people-centric than zombie-centric. And I don't care about people and their stupid, fake, fictitious drama. I just don't. Just couldn't get into it. It was not my cup of tea. For me, the drama needs to be the background storyline, not the foreground storyline. So, like Dexter, for example. It took me a while to get into Dexter. I don't know why I couldn't vibe with the first episode. It took me like 5 times of watching it before I was like, yeah, I want to continue with that. But like the Dexter storyline is forefront to all of the police and sister and flashback, etc. drama. Like it takes the foreground, so it's tolerable, even though I find Dexter kind of annoyingly dramatic at times. I didn't know his sister was either his girlfriend or his wife, IRL, for most of, if not part of it, if not maybe still. I recently learned that. I feel like that'd be so awkward.
Commander, we have to send more troops to deal with that giant zombie.
Legendary. I don't know. Okay, let's go. We have a major advantage. Yeah, da 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 da. It's the Demigorgon. That's true. It is what sells. A lot of people do enjoy drama. That's why we have so much, like, reality TV, etc. I just find it... I don't know. I probably more than anything find it overstimulating. Like, I just want the storyline of the show. I don't want the extra stuff. It's not so much that it's annoying, perhaps. It's just overstimulating. think the scope of awkward for actors is different than for us normal humans. Oh, that's probably true. Within your victory, within whatever your acting training is, you're probably taught to be able to detach from yourself and attach to whatever character you're playing, to where I think I would feel awkward if I was an actor. I think about that sometimes, like jumping and watching behind the scenes stuff and like being normal behind the scenes but then jumping into a role. Like, you are a perfect shapeshifter. How do you do that? I would be so not good at doing that. That would be really difficult for me. Like, did I enjoy acting in school and doing little plays? Yes, but that's frou-frou-la-la stuff with your friends. It's different. Squad up. We keep having a major advantage. Good boy for you. Scratch on the chair. Scratch it up. I don't know if that's because I made us a really good existence, or like if that means I'm doing good in game, or if that's just by accident. I'm grabbing you, Bean. Hold on. Okay, we can let it run for you. Get the stuff.
Oh my. We can fight zombies.
Rescue survivors. Rescue. You rescue Mr. Bean from... Ow. Come here. From having to exist without mommy. Oi. We sure do creak the chair a lot more together than just mama. There you go. There you go, cozy bub. You're my baby. You're my baby. That's my baby cat. That's my baby cat. That's my baby cat. It's my baby cat. Maybe I'm secretly actually a zombie. And that's how I'm walking in and out of the fog. I do like being able to have the background eraser back up, though. I missed it. It could not run on my old lappy tappy. Where did home go? Home is whenever I'm with you. I'm home. Yes, I am home. Home is wherever I'm with you. Do, 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 do. I love you, Mr. Bean. You're doing much better today. You gotta keep up the good work. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Foya's also on, like, I don't know if it's actually an antidepressant, but it's something I was given to manage feelings and anxiety years ago. And my cat Maya took years ago because she had FIC too. Feline idiopathic cystitis. And I think that's helping him a lot, in addition to... What is buspirone? I just remember it made me sleepy. I guess it's for anxiety. He's taking that now too. It's not a benzo. It works as an azipirone. Okay. So you're like every other person with mental health issues, thinking that you feel the difference within like 3 days when it actually takes 2 to 4 weeks to make a full effect? It made me so sleepy though, and then when I would come out of like the sleepy state, I would be cranky. I think I metabolized it too fast, but because I'm small, I needed a smaller dose than like the average adult. Like I take the child or geriatric dose for most things. Do you have anxiety? Do you have the anxiety? Oh, maybe it would help Zeke too. He doesn't have like urine spraying or fear-based aggression, but he is like kind of a goofy goober of a lack of confidence. If he keeps up the weird confusedness, maybe we'll consider giving it a try. Increased affection. Demanding attention. Oh god, that's what we need. Mild sedation, agitation, vomiting, or diarrhea, or increased boldness or confidence. Okay. And dogs can take it too. It's interesting. I wonder if that would have been helpful for Chauncey when we first adopted him. I just remembered on a whim though, and I asked my vet if he would be comfortable trying it, or I know there's things he's prescribed in the past that like new research has come out on, and it's like, oh, that wasn't such a good thing to do. Like the allergy shot that Backup used to get years ago, Kenalog, ended up having some pretty bad side effects, like not really cancer causing, so it's not like that's what made him sick. But he doesn't give that shot anymore because of that. Just protect survivors. I don't know, I want to click battle buttons. No, it's not, but I picture every cat medication as some sort of catnip. Well, I mean, technically this is just like concentrated catnip, sort of. Wouldn't that be something? Compounded catnip in a concentrated form? Holy shit, how insane would they get? Daisy loves catnip. She got to play with it for the first time when she got to my dad's house. And she said, oh, this is a good banana. It was very cute. I am so glad she's doing well. I'm so glad that my dad loves her so much and isn't just tolerating her. I don't know. I have irrational fears. But as someone who is, you know, also a girl and also just tolerated, I think that was, you know, not from a completely stupid place to be concerned about. But oh god, she is running the house. She is the queen of the castle. You know, my dad claims that he likes boy cats more than girl cats, and understandably so. But I think he likes having a girl cat in the house. He always speaks fondly of the girl cat that he had before I was born, Princess. And he speaks fondly of Bunny still. And he loves Daisy. I don't know if he's gonna change her name though. He doesn't know what he would change it to if he would change it. It's like Daisy works for her, but I want to call her something about her tail. Like, well, you should wait to see how big she gets and if she grows into it. He thought I was kidding when I said she was gonna be huge. And then he got a look at her and he's like, oh, she is going to be big. We're thinking, I don't know, she might just have a ridiculously disproportionate tail for like ever. That's possible. Oh, but he went as far as to measure her tail with the measuring tape. It's 13 inches long. He measured her tail. It's 13 inches long. Told him he should call her Little Big Tail. This is probably incredibly politically incorrect to say, So please understand that this was from another person's mouth and from another time in life. My dad claims to not remember this because I brought it up when I was over there the other day. But I was yapping in the kitchen one day. I used to always stagulate on my dinner. Like, I would sit at the table and just talk, like I do on stream, all night, and not finish my dinner. And it would be like 2-3 hours at the table before I would be finishing my dinner. And just talking, yapping, jacking my jaws. And one day my dad goes, you know, let me preface this with, my great-grandmother claimed, and we found no genetic evidence, but she claimed to be like 1/8 Cherokee. Like a tiny bit of Native American, right? I know, me yapping, it would have never happened. Never. And he looked at me, and I was probably like 5 or 6. So I knew the Grand Ruby lore, but I didn't know. Why did that just change perspective? I guess I moved it. I didn't know that he was kidding. He looks at me and goes, you know what your Indian name is? And I go, what? And he goes, Little Big Mouth. And I believed him for a moment before I realized that that was not a true, it was a funny. But I told him he should name her Little Big Tail. And I expected him to remember in some way that I was Little Big Mouth. But no. He's like, I don't know if my dad has like selective memory or if he really doesn't remember those moments, but it's cute. It was very funny and witty of him, but very politically incorrect, to be honest. Hello, baby girl. Oh, I don't think we have enough resources. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, wait, that's not. Let's do that one. And then, do we have enough? No. We need, like, double that much. Can we go out and gather resources? Was that one of them? I guess, you know, claiming my prize would be good, too.
Is anyone there?
Oh, these really just give you, like, character stuff, not really resources.
We can fight zombies and we don't.
Wood. Tomatoes. This is this tiny amount. Just a little bitty. Just a little bitty. Heal. There are no wounded in the hospital. Little Big Mouth suits you. I'd like to think so. I mean, I didn't find it offensive, but I thought it was also serious when I was being told that. Like, I don't know. We supposedly Grandma had some Cherokee in her. Like, no, she didn't, but... Didn't give you a little side-eye chuckle for that? That was a good one. No, my dad's very deadpan with his comedy. So, like, you can't tell when he's joking sometimes because he says it to you so matter-of-fact and seriously. So if you don't know exactly what he's referencing, you could either think he's being hilarious or straightforward or just completely rude. It's interesting. I understand my dad's sense of humor a lot more, like, now with age. But then I did not. Oh, we only get the Iron Cavalry. Some Ranger Ricks. And then some ruffians. Alright, Finn Rider, let's go. I don't remember if I have to do anything for this. Do I need to click him? I think it just happens. Maybe I did need to do something. Do I click it? Oh, no. He doesn't remember saying it, supposedly. Which, again, I don't know if that's just selective memory of, like, he knows he was kind of being an ass. No, I'm not strong enough for this. Like, he was definitely saying it to make fun of me. But he supposedly doesn't remember it. Like, I was sitting right here at the kitchen table. But, I mean, most nights I did stagulate on my dinner, so I don't blame him for not remembering that one. Oh, no, I didn't want this. What is this? I don't know what this is. I don't know what I clicked. I don't know what I clicked. I don't think I need to click anything either. I think I just need to get stronger. Open sesame. An invitation to the end of the world. I feel like true wit, like, comes naturally. It's not something you're pre-scripting in your mind. And therefore it's easily forgettable. I don't know, sure. It's the worst that happens. I die. I don't know.
This might be a treacherous
So maybe Daisy will be, maybe Daisy will be Daisy. Maybe Daisy will be Little Big Tail. LBT. No, I don't want to play against other people. Stranger danger. How do I go back? I want to go back. Thank you. That's a bit much for me. It's a bit much. What do they want me to do? That's illegal. They hoeing me out in the zombie apocalypse. Dear Commander, the Federation has started transporting cargo, human trafficking between various villages. Head to the shipment center, Wayfair, to start escorting now. No, stranger danger. What was the shipment center? Warehouse? A warehouse is a shipment center? Where do you want me to go, you crazy person? Oh, we gotta build one. We don't have one yet. That's the catch. That's where they get ya. A farm. Do some farm things. And some engine barracks. Okay. Oh, no. I forked it over. How did you go over here before? There. Bloop, bloop. Like how the buildings do a little bounce, like, alright, settling into the ground. No foundation necessary. Oh, there's like a city outside of here. I didn't realize that before. I wasn't paying attention. I can be your hero, baby. Do. Oh, she's fragmenting up a lot here. Got the skills to pay the bills.
And also our last hope.
I was gonna say they shouldn't let people comment on these characters. Half of it I don't understand because it's in another language. The other half is all pervy. They're not wrong. It's
if you
funny.
end up alive, I'll take a fee. If you end up dead, I'll take everything. Lose my
Alright,
revenge,
Doctor.
I'll kill you.
Doctor Strange over here. One more point. You do this like lollygag lay down and it looks so awkward, but I guess it's comfy. I don't know. That's how buildings happen IRL. You can trust me, I've built things.
Hey, don't touch
Give you the benefit of the doubt for that one. I'd believe it. It sounds true enough, therefore I believe it.
I warned them, damn it!
Okay, Mr. Cussford. Oh, I think I selected the overkill for him. Oopsies.
What's there to be
Am
surprised
saying.
about? I simply...
I'll always be here for you.
Defense. Defense. Why you're so cute. My cozy bean. You're my cozy bean. Oh, I'm such a little princess. Isn't that lovely? What else did you need me to look at in there? Oh, I was missing that one. Oopsies. Scams. That's why it opens to the page you come back to. Rude. Alright, we're gonna loot up a little bit and then we're gonna hit the hay, baby. The water war. Playing the PC version, you think? Rinky dinky dink. Subway Nest looks scary. I don't know about that one. I don't know, Margos.
We'll all die one day.
Liam.
Not today. Today, not tomorrow.
Do you want to readjust yourself? Wait, what was in the corner for
Hang in
him?
there, kid. We'll protect you.
Thought it was blinking a comment thing for him.
We're all going to hell.
They should not have that. One more battle. And then Eeps. It's been a very long day with very little sleeps. Get the big gun, get the big gun! Yes. It was an awkward readjust for him. Ah, where'd my mouse go? It ran away. I got too clicky happy. Woo! Woo! Can we... Why did you want me to do that? Baby. Baby. Oh, you want uppies. Okay. Or you want to try and sit on the chair? Oh, don't jump on the no, don't. Don't. Baby. Baby. Ground, not laptop. Thank you. Goofy goober. Much tomatoes. Much wood. I don't know how infinite reforming these maps are. But stuff and things.
Cheers.
We need to take
everything we can use. Don't let it be
I think I overclicked that a little bit.
This will all pass, right?
No harm, no foul, but oops. Ups a dubs a dubs. One more. Oh, we already got her where she needs to be.
Take everything you can use. I'm keeping a record of my experience.
A record.
Well
What is
done.
that accent? That was interesting.
Hang in there, kid.
Skills is at max level. Oh, skill is. Is that proper grammar? I guess it was plural. Skills are at max level. Skill is at max. No, that's not improper grammar. It was when I read it the wrong way first.
Not today. Today and not tomorrow. Hang
But
in there.
I'm a goofy goober now. And you're a goofy goober now. And we're all goofy goobers now. Goofy, 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 goofy goobers.
We've almost won.
A lot of games, it's better to focus down on one talent tree rather than spreading the points around.
The remaining supply should
I can see the validity of that.
treasure.
But I also ran into troubles with that and kind of like locked myself out of
We've almost won this area.
success in some portions.
Every loaf of bread and every bullet. They don't
It made some parts of the game go literally retarded, like in the sense of moving backwards instead of moving forwards.
treasure every loaf.
Well, we played the Game of Thrones one by blurping around with it instead of doing it well-formedly. So I'm trying that method this
One
round.
must always look ahead, no matter how old you are. One must. The facilities are lacking.
Once I get more into all the characters, like, she looks like she's probably a healer. Yeah, she is a medical thing and heals stuff. Then we'll focus them more that way once we get to the outer branches of the trees. But the inner ones, I don't want to fork up. But I think also in the Game of Thrones one, it...
The last bullet?
what was it? Unless you had a certain amount of like cavalry, etc., and archers, and when you had a certain amount of skill tree bits unlocked, only then could you upgrade certain things. And it doesn't seem like it's that way in this game. I'm still trying. That's all you can do in life is just try. We're all goofy goobers!
I could go
I'm
all
a
out.
goofy goober now. You're a goofy goober now.
Lose no
We're all goofy goobers now. Goofy, 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 goofy goobers.
If you end up alive, I'll take a fee. If you end up dead, I'll take everything.
Okay, whatever
Lose
else
no
you guys
revenge
need,
won't kill you.
wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday. You can wait until Thursday. Tomorrow is Serena Day. Gotta take Diesel to get his shots tomorrow. Shots, 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 shots. Everybody. Stranger danger.
I know you're out there. Behave yourself. No peeking.
She's gonna come out just covered in flower stickers. She has like one like pant leg stocking going on and some panties. I'm proud of her.
You out
She's
there
getting
just look
places.
Really good.
Hee hee hee. They have one day left to fix her. I can fix her. No, I tell them, pinch poke, I owe you a cookie. we get a completely different little, not like fairy tale bit, but little bit of a bit. Is it pinch poke, you get a cookie. Pinch poke, I owe you a cookie. I don't even know how much I need. Oh. You exceeded your warehouse's capacity. Well, give me a bigger warehouse then. Maximum farm. Max farm. It exploded. A lot just happened there. 11 hours. I think I left the other one running when we were offline the other night and still kept going. So I want to see if this will keep going while we do the eeps tonight. Look at our little town. I'm so proud of us. Emergency drill. I think we just got like a bunch of stuff and I didn't need to claim all of the extra stuff. Gonna love them in my inventory. But like they're gonna do the same thing in my inventory that they're gonna do up here anyway. Like, what's the point? It's either in a private bank account or my public bank account. Like, I don't think it matters. I don't need to aggressively click that. I just think I do. I like the stuff and the things, but this is kind of excessive. It's kind of excessive. Cool. Cool. We have boxes. My god. We just went from like broke to affluent to like rich. In 5 minutes. If that. Sheesh. Got a lot of maters. We got a lot of wood. We got a lot of steel. We got a decent amount of diamonds. Okay. I don't think there's any more daily claims that we need to grab. We'll be right back. We rich, bitch! Exactly. Rich in resources. Oh my goodness. A little bit of overdoing it there. That's okay. Stupid gate. There you go. Ooh, didn't mean to boop that. And more expos! They're smaller than I remember. I guess not. The box just looked smaller. It looks like a box of staples. But I guess they are regular size markers. Wow. Our most vibrant ink. Chisel. They're fancy men markers. They're chiseled. Okay. Good night, game. Oh, no, that didn't do what I wanted it to do. I meant to put my desktop back. We're all flipping backwards. It's weird. Blurp. That's disorienting. Alright, Club Cult. That is our night for tonight. Thank you so much for your oh, now my volume's all fucked up from the game. Thank you all for your time, your chats, your company, your support, being your wonderful selves. More than anything, thank you for your time. I appreciate you all very much. Your time is very valuable. Please do not ever forget that. It is a finite resource. When you're able to spend your time here, I appreciate it very, very, very much. It is an honor. It is a privilege. Thank you for everything, Club Cult. A merry Serena day to all. Yes. Serena for president. Wednesdays are now a part of the weekend. So we get Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday and Sunday. 3-day weekend, but like in blocks. It's nice. There'll still be someone out there that will complain about it and say, this wasn't good enough. But, you know, you just can't win them all. You can't please everyone. Hope you guys get some good sleeps too. I highly doubt I'll get caught up on everything. I still have pre-surgery tasks to complete. I was feeling so rough in my off time that I was not able to accomplish anything. But tomorrow I'm going to wake up and take my Ritalin. Somehow remember to. I need to put it in front of the coffee maker. That's how I remember to take it. Because then I see it as I'm making my coffee and it's like, oh yeah, it's not just something to get out of the medicine cabinet. But I didn't want to accidentally take it, so I put it in the medicine cabinet and then I forgot about it. Like the beauty of ADHD. There's meds for it, but if you don't remember to take them, because you don't remember things, then I don't help at all. I most certainly will not get caught up on everything. But I'm trying to be fair and kind with myself about that. And section out a little bit of time tonight and then in the morning tomorrow before Diesel gets his shots around noon to kind of segment out what days that I want to attack all of these things. So tomorrow will probably be like more basement cleaning and zoo stuff. And then I'm looking at the days and not understanding them. Chauncey has surgery this Tuesday. So I'll probably have a few mental breakdowns in between until then. I'll try to show up as much as possible. But I probably inevitably will just have a couple of rough days in between. At the very least, I think Saturday I'll have PB stream. So I'll have Catterday and then I'll do like a upstairs cleaning, dishes. I haven't done dishes since before surgery, except for cleaning her syringes. So my sink is kind of full at this point. So at least between tomorrow and Saturday, I should be able to split all the tasks in half. And then little maintenance things like vacuuming, mopping can be done intermittently. Things like that never take as long as I think they'll take. Like, I let my bathroom get super messy with, like, hair stuff and wigs and makeup and all of that everywhere. And then I get really intimidated by cleaning it. And every single time, it takes less than 10 minutes. Including scrubbing it down. It takes less than 10 minutes. But I always think it's going to be, like, a 5-hour task. It's daunting. But it is a little intimidating to see, like, 5 wigs stacked up in one place, you know? Slavka decided the bathroom counter was her favorite place to play recently, though, so that's clean at the very least. Yeah, planning the giant to-do list. It has to be sectioned out, otherwise I'll start to freak out and feel overwhelmed. So tomorrow will probably be zoo cleaning stuff. And just little odds and ends. Flip laundry around. And then Saturday I'll plan for blocking out the rest of it, and then the little pieces in between will just get fit into each day sideways. Garbage Cat Charlie is pleased with the dishes in their current state. She's actually been leaving the dishes alone lately, which is, I appreciate very much. But I've also been good about rinsing them when I'm doing the dishes every day. What's up, West End? You're popping in just in time to say goodnight. But I do the dishes every day, just like don't rinse them and leave them dirty in the sink so then there's stuff to lick off. But not doing dishes, I've been rinsing them off so there's nothing to steal back. There's nothing to steal back. I'm doing good. I appreciate you asking. You guys are so sweet to me. You guys are so sweet. If you bubs want to keep up with me offline, hop into the Disky Boo. Otherwise, we got the fun stuff. The socials. Some more fun stuff. The schedule for when I will see you bubs next. And thank you all for being part of the Stream the Dreams project. I appreciate you all very, very much. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their night. Do me one favor until I see you bebs next. And that is, remember that you are wonderful, amazing, incredible, spectacular, kind, oh so gorgeous, and all the good things in the world. Take all those compliments and put them in your back pocket, your side pocket, your cute little hoodie pocket, your adorable little shirt pocket, and floating in suspended animation. Wherever it needs to go until I see you next, you sweet babos. You sweet babos. Just wondering, do you do video call? I do. You can send me a message over on OF or Fansly about that, or an MFC mail. I sell my number on MFC. I like doing them more as like FaceTime calls. It's less site issues to run into because OF loves to crash. Just so fun and convenient. On Discord? No, not on Discord. I can't age verify on Discord. So, like, you're probably not 12, but what if? You know? Gotta be a Serena for the people, for the greater good of the world here. Protect the innocents. Get some good sleep tonight, Club Cult. Make good choices. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And don't forget to take care of yous. Have a beautiful, beautiful Serena day. Make every moment count. And I shall catch you all for the next one. Good night, you wonderful biscuits.